President Biden's been in office 6 months. My grade after 6 months is D, as in terror dog. Holly the terror dog. D. That might be unfair to Mr. Biden, but I thought about it a lot. And outside of distributing the vaccine in an orderly way, which has happened under his administration, outside of that, I don't see any benefit for the United States of America directly linked to Joe Biden. Again, if I'm being too harsh, you let me know. So let's bring in a presidential guy who written a number of books about presidents, Paul Brandus, coming to us from Washington. He is the White House bureau chief and founder of West Wing Reports. So you make a living watching the president and how the executive branch runs. What grade would you give President Biden?
Well, I think it's maybe a little bit better than your D, Bill, but probably not that much better. And I think you gave a lot of the good reasons. I mean, there's no question that he came into office, first of all, saying that COVID was the big thing that he wanted to do, and everything else, frankly, derived from that. Okay, that's a fair point, I think. So where are we after 6 months? Well, first of all, he came in and said, well, I want to have 100 million people vaccinated within X period. Well, that was kind of a low bar to begin with. It was deliberately set low so it would be easily achieved, give them an early success. The real marker was when he said we want 70% of Americans, well, 70% of adults at least, to be vaccinated by July 4th. They came somewhat close to that, I think about 65, 66%. Not bad, but that still leaves tens of millions of people, of course, who have not been vaccinated. Then you've got this Delta variant rearing its ugly head. So in light of the fact that they have not met the goals that he established, a lot of these other things simply are not getting done.
See, I don't blame him for the vax. There are 30% of Americans, it's a lot of folks, American adults, just not going to get the vax. No matter what you say, they're not going to do it. All right. And so you can't force them to do it. And to Biden's credit, he hasn't introduced any mandates and he doesn't do that. And that's a good thing. But outside of COVID, you look at the economy, it's wobbling. You look at prices, they're going up. You look at the border, it's a catastrophe. Just Cuba, I talked about this with Sean Hannity today on his radio program. He's down in Miami. Just Cuba alone, all Biden had to do was go down to Miami and make a speech saying, we want freedom for the Cuban people, and we're going to put as much pressure on Havana, on the communist government as we can to make that a reality. That's all he had to do. Wouldn't do it. His solution to Cuba, and this was why he gets a D, is to send more American personnel to the embassy in Havana. Come on, does anybody on earth think that's going to do anything? It isn't. It's dumb.
They've messed up on the border. I think no question about it. I think the media, which was all over this like white on rice, of course, during the Trump era, I think they've largely looked the other way here. I mean, first of all, he outsourced it to Vice President Harris. She has not done, in my judgment at least, a particularly good job. She went down to Latin America, didn't really do that much. She claimed she'd been to the border. She hadn't. And so I'm not really sure what they're doing. And these people are coming in. I think the number you said, 1.5 million. I've seen different numbers, but it's certainly well over a million.
It's a number from the Border Patrol, from the Biden administration's own people. That's the number. 1.5. And what's interesting about that number, Paul, is that's just the apprehensions. That's not the other million migrants who got in. All right, because the Border Patrol can't get them all. This is a human wave. But the horrible stuff about this, and again, I'll remind people I wrote a column, Mi Casa, Su Casa, is that tens of thousands of migrants are being murdered and beaten up and raped and everything by these horrible people, these coyotes, these cartels in Mexico. This humanitarian disaster is totally ignored by the American press. You were right. You were absolutely right. Kids in cages, that's what we held about Trump. But all of these terrible, terrible crimes against humanity, against these poor migrant people, you don't have a word about it because the media is invested in Joe Biden. Go ahead.
There's also a big difference in terms of Cuba and Latin America. You know, in terms of his policy towards Cuba, he could have said, get out of Cuba. Our arms we have an open door for you. We welcome you. Come to Miami. We'd love to have you. But he has not done that. But in Latin America, the view is that it's a more permissive attitude. I think that's why the numbers have increased on his watch, because he's seen, I think, as not as tough on the border as Trump was. So you got these waves of folks coming up here, but in Cuba, it's like, no, don't come here. I don't know what the difference is.
Well, I'll tell you what the difference is. That and I talked about it again with Hannity. The difference is that some progressive leftists think Cubans will vote Republican, that they're more conservative than the Central Americans, which is true. Cuba is a more traditional, religious, family-based society. This isn't a besmirchment against Central America and Mexico, but the society in Cuba is much more traditional. But here's the bottom line on this, and I hate to use that cliche bottom line. Asylum? I mean, every Cuban who gets to the United States is going to get asylum because they are fleeing a totalitarian, violent communist regime. All right, they're not saying, hey, my brother-in-law's in a gang and he's mean to me, let me in, as a lot of the Central Americans are doing. This is true political horror going on in Cuba. So therefore, by definition, the Cubans are entitled to asylum if they can get here. And Biden made it quite clear that he doesn't want them coming. He doesn't want them trying to get here. So anyway, it's an interesting discussion. Here's a final question for you. Yeah. I see Joe Biden as Jimmy Carter. There are so many similarities between Biden and Carter, both weak leaders, both beholden to Biden much more so than Carter was, but Biden is beholden to the progressive left. Right? He does what they want him to do. He doesn't have any kind of backbone on crime, on abortion, even though he's a Catholic. I mean, he's just weak. And that's what Jimmy Carter was. He's a weak president. Do you see that?
Well, I think there are certainly similarities, and I think I see Biden, frankly, as sort of a transitional president. I mean, look, he's 78 years old. I mean, I can't see someone that old getting reelected to this very difficult job. Carter was elected in 76, as you know, because we were coming out of this period of horrible scandal, Nixon and Watergate. Carter presents himself as Mr. Clean. I'll never lie to you. That's very appealing in 1976, but he flopped on the job. Along comes Biden now, after what at least most Americans see as this scandalous Trump era, double impeachments and all the rest. And Biden came in and said, look, I may be a gaffe machine, but I'm an honest guy. And so it's kind of a lower bar in terms of what we want.
Well, let me ask you this. Biden's big theme was...
he did not win, and he did not win by very much, as you know, 45,000 votes, and he would have lost.
But Biden's major theme was, I'm going to unite the country. I'm going to bring us all together because President Trump was divisive. But he has done the opposite of that, has he not? He hasn't united anybody I know.
I think there's certainly something to that. I mean, look, 2/3 of the, well, not 2/3, 55% of the country approve of him. 45% don't. With Trump, the numbers were reversed under Trump.
I know. But I haven't seen any kind of outreach to try to get everybody together on some kind of kumbaya plane. Paul, thanks for helping us out. We really appreciate it. Know how busy you are. Thank you very much. Fellow Americans, I am concerned about the U.S. dollar. Huge debt, as you know. Will it stay as the world's reserve currency? That's why now more than ever, I recommend you diversify with gold and silver. And the only company I recommend, and have for years, is American Hartford Gold. I trust them. I've personally done business with them. They sell physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA. And they make it very easy. So call them right now. Make sure you tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they will give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Since I have been recommending American Hartford Gold, gold shot up more than 40%. Silver, more than 60%. So don't wait. Call them now, 866-501-5201. 866-501-5201. Or text Bill to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201, or text Bill to 65532. Bill O'Reilly here. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe to the First TV YouTube page. Just hit the big red subscribe button below, and you'll get clips and highlights of my program, The No Spin News, every single day. We'll see you soon.